Yanqing gotta be the worst 5-star in Honkai Star Rails. Or is he? With the conclusion of the Euphoria saga, we are introduced to Dan Heng Permansor Terrae, or just Dan Heng PT, a physical shield unit who is focused on amplifying attack damage. And if there's one thing that comes to my mind in this game when you mention shield, is Yanqing. Now for those who completely forgot about this character, I don't blame you, because every time he's on screen, he essentially gets no diff. The most impressive thing that we see him do is his fight against Yun Li, but that was essentially the equivalent of two children hitting each other with wet pool noodles. But what exactly makes him so underwhelming? Besides low multipliers on his abilities, to get any meaningful damage from him, you have to jump through multiple hoops and hurdles. His main flaw stems from his talent, which is a massive crit rate crit damage steroid, while also giving his skill a 60% chance to proc a follow-up attack with another 65% chance to inflict freeze. Sounds cracked, right? But the downside is that if he takes any form of damage, he will immediately lose this buff, making him extremely reliant on shields. So before this point, you either needed Japard or Venturine in your account if you even wanted to attempt to play him, because God forbid you're going to use Preservation March. Now to actually get his talent buff, you need to use your skill once, but the buff only lasts for a turn. It doesn't even apply until the skill is used, so you don't get the bonus until his next rotation. And having to use skill every turn can be costly for your SP economy, but to be fair, most of the DPS nowadays pretty much have to do the same thing, so I'm not going to hold that over him. However, there's a way to get around this. While his talent is still active, you can cast his basic attack, and before the animation finishes, you can cast his ult. This will cause his talent to remain active. Why does this work? I don't know. And speaking of his ult, it is a single target nuke that also boosts crit rate and crit damage by 60 and 50% respectively for, get this, a singular turn. And oh, did I mention it costs 140 energy? Cause yeah, it costs 140 energy. So your uptime on this buff is gonna be complete ass, but this just leads us to another problem. Too much stats. Yanqing gets an 80% crit rate buff just from his talent and ult alone. Now because of the downtime of your ult, you don't want to just have 20% base crit rate, because that's gonna make the rest of the fights miserable. But let's say you build him with 50 to 60% crit just to be safe. He is still going to have an excess of crit rate depending on supports, relics, and light cones. And by the way, he is a hunt unit, and a majority of the good hunt light cones give crit. So not only is Yanqing fragile, complicated, and energy hungry, he's overcapped on one of the most prevalent stats in his archetype. So with all his problems aired out, how does Preservation Dan Heng fix these issues? Well, first of all, it's a shield unit. The shield is stackable and pretty much has a permanent uptime, unlike a certain other gambler. But the main buff that's gonna help with damage is a follow-up attack that you get from Soul Dragon, which dispels debuff. Having a cleanse on a unit who is heavily reliant on using skill every turn to maintain a buff is extremely important. His ultimate does AoE damage and refreshes shields, but the most important effect is the fact that it enhances Soul Dragon's next action, launching an AoE follow-up attack, dealing 80% of Dan Heng's attack along with 80% of the Bomb Maid's attack. There's also one more indirect buff that Dan Heng provides. Soul Dragon counts as a summon from the character that it's casted on, allowing for synergy with more relic sets. Previously, your most viable sets were either Rudolin or Gelmoth, but now you also have access to Inursal Soto and Banana Amusement, providing more build diversity. As for your support, Sunday is a must because of how Bomb Maid and Soul Dragon works. Like I said previously, it counts towards whoever you cast it on. This allows Yanqing to get the full 80% damage buff from Sunday's skill. This also means that whenever you use Sunday's skill on Yanqing, it also brings up Soul Dragon in the turn order. And for your last slot, honestly, any support is fine. I'm just running Trippy because she is broken and I just want more AoE damage. With this team, I'm able to clear the most recent MOC within 5 cycles, as you can see in the background. But I should also mention that my Yanqing is at E1, so it's not exactly the most accurate representation of what most people's runs will look like, but that's a minor detail, right? We don't have to worry about that. As for builds, it's pretty standard. Here are the stats. I think crit rate for me is a little bit high. I want to drop it to 40 and then try to boost up crit damage let's be honest, you don't want to spend too much time and effort into this piece of shit character anyways. With relics, I'm running the Scholar set. It's a good set. That's all I can really say. As for Planars, Inars Al Soto is an option. I'm just testing it. But like I said before, you have some other options like Galmoth or the Banana set. It's just up to preference. And for light cones, the Sele one is just the best one that he has access to. All the other ones just doesn't really do anything for him. Sleep Like the Dead, it's pretty ass. It's decent crit damage boost, but the secondary effect will pretty much be useless for you because you're always going to be overcapped on crit rate anyways. The free-to-play one, it's also pretty mediocre. Once again, it gives you crit rate, you don't need it. And then the secondary effect can come up depending on what type of boss you're fighting, but you're solely using this character on single target anyways. But another free-to-play option that you can consider is Swordplay. It's just a massive attack boost. That's it, right? It's pretty easy to get, especially with Sunday. Yeah, it's pretty good. As for the rest of the team, it's like fairly standard. I don't really need to go over any of this. I do have the 5-star Lycone for him. One thing to know about the new Dan Heng is that he pretty much has no good Lycone options aside from his own, because he's an attack scaler and all the preservation Lycones in the game just doesn't give attack. But you know, you can always just run like a Lycone that has high base attack that's not within the preservation path. Here are the relics, pretty standard. You know, don't really need to go over this. And then same thing with Sunday and Tribi. Does this make Yanqing tier 0 meta contender? Hell no, definitely not. This character's giga ass. You're pretty much taking 3 really good supports, slapping it on a really shit character. You can pretty much do this with any other DPS unit and you'll get like 10 times a better result. But there is a little bit of hope, because with Currency War release, we do have a new animation for his ultimate. So maybe he'll get a buff in the future. Cross my fingers. Yeah, but that's pretty much all I gotta say. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. Let me know what other shitty characters you want me to showcase. And I'll see you guys next time.